Good afternoon. My name is Pat Gomuwka, and I am an art student at Christopher Newport University. Transitions depicts the fleeting moments of life. It is a series of 11 pieces that combines ideas from the vanitas and memento mori genres and is portrayed two-dimensionally using watercolor and paper collage. Marchand's late 15th century woodcut prints of the Danse Macabre provided the motivation to develop the material for the achromatic paper collage backgrounds in my works. In the farcical Danse Macabre, corpses appear to be having a good time dancing about, cajoling the living to join them. This provides a comedic aspect to the somber memento mori genre. In contrast, the vanitas portion of each work in Transitions is developed using the vibrant hues of watercolor. For the vanitas still lifes, the conventional components include skulls, musical instruments, books, flowers, extinguished candles, and empty wine glasses. The contemporary components include digitalized images and spent electronic gadgets. The purpose of the creation of Transitions is to provide a moment to contemplate the transition from life to death. Of note, the first work in the series is labeled Contemporary Vanitas, and it was the first one that was completed and was the inspiration for the series. The last created work is placed fifth in the presentation and is labeled Vanitas Whispering Self-Portrait. It requires further elaboration as it ties together two pandemics occurring 500 years apart. The coronavirus is illustrated in the sunflower centers, and the plague is demonstrated by the lozenge-shaped Yersinia pestis bacteria cascading down the green cloth. The Grim Reapers in Marchand's woodcut prints portray the doom caused by the plague pandemic, but ironically can also refer to the tragedy of our current coronavirus pandemic. The last or 11th work in the presentation is labeled Un Roi Mort, or Vanitas with a Dead King. And Marchand's 1485 book of his woodcut prints of the Danse Macabre, the last print is accompanied by a poem that was translated from French to English by David Fine. The poem printed on September 28, 1485, titled A Dead King, part of it follows. All of you who see this painting, men of conditions joining the dance, know that human existence is no more than meat for worms. I who lie here show it clearly, and I was once a crowned king. So will you be, whether men of virtue or sin, all stations of life, and up with the worms. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, I'm Thomas Matthews. I'm a proud graduate of Christopher Newport University with a studio art major and a minor in photography and video. And these are my neon green hamburger socks. I'm showing you these because they have something in common with my part of the senior thesis exhibition. They are articles of clothing. Clothing is something that we use in our everyday lives, but we don't just use it to cover ourselves up. Many people wear clothing in order to express themselves and to show people who they are. Some people wear certain articles of clothing, or even a full outfit, because this clothing holds some sort of special meaning to them. However, when it comes to conventions, especially comic book conventions, the use of clothing is taken up a notch in the form of cosplay. Cosplay is the act of dressing up as a character from film, television, theater, or any other forms of entertainment. These are normally associated with superhero genres, but can include other genres as well. This is what I used as the basis for my senior thesis series, Me, Him, and I. Me, Him, and I consist of a series of photographs of myself in cosplay as various characters from film, television, and theater that I am particularly fond of. Each character that I cosplay has some form of significance to me, whether that has to do with important things that have happened to me, or just normal things that have happened in my life that I can associate with that specific character. One example is my 11th Doctor cosplay from the British sci-fi series, Doctor Who. This was the first character that I ever cosplayed. I've known about cosplay for a while at that time, but I never thought about actually doing it. When I saw the 11th Doctor's costume for the first time, I thought it was a fantastic costume, and after seeing numerous videos online of other people cosplaying him, I decided to cosplay him as well. Needless to say, after that experience, I became fascinated with cosplaying. And not just cosplaying from Doctor Who. I became fascinated with cosplaying all different sorts of characters from all different sorts of genres. I have had the chance to meet and become good friends with many different people over the years due to our mutual love of cosplay. And that never would have happened if I hadn't decided to cosplay the 11th Doctor from Doctor Who. I hope you enjoy my series, as well as everyone else's.
Hello, my name is Colleen Real, and I am the artist behind the photo series Unmask the Posed. So throughout this series, I made portraits that are displayed as a diptych using the same model to emphasize the idea that people can be beautiful in multiple forms. So these portraits are meant to question the viewer about their personal definitions of beauty. So on the left side, in the white frames, the images show a more advertised, over-the-top form of beauty that society is used to seeing in a magazine or, through fashion, TV, movies, that kind of beauty where it's very vibrant and posy and it's kind of unrelatable in a sense. So I really tried to emphasize that concept by making the colors very vibrant in what the person is wearing and their makeup. And I really tried to do them in poses where you really wouldn't make eye contact with the the audience wouldn't make eye contact with the person in the photo. So, and I think this helps kind of emphasize that societal beauty that is in magazines can sometimes be unrelatable. And then in the black frames on the right, the portraits display a more relaxed, a more natural state and form of beauty that I think you see when you wake up and you go look in the mirror, and it's like you're still, yes, you may not have all this makeup on and you may have a couple pimples, but you're still very beautiful. And I think that it needs to be acknowledged more in society today. So these images I think are more relatable to people in this day and age, and I tried to emphasize the natural and relatable beauty by having these models be as relaxed as possible, and I didn't alter any of their pictures in terms of like taking blemishes out or like fixing their hair or like doing anything to their eyes. I really wanted it to be just raw and beautiful in that sense. And I also used eye contact in the black and white, more natural beauty portraits because I thought it would really, you can get a sense of who that person is, who the model is, and you can kind of relate to them and see their beauty through the eye contact that is displayed. And I decided to name these portraits through the individual pictures themselves instead of in pairs. So for example, the first in the series, the first diptych in the series is named Masked Marissa and Confidence. And how I named them is for all of the more stylized, very vibrant photos in the white frames, I named them Masked and then the model's name. Because someone once told me that when you put makeup on, it's kind of like putting a mask on to go face the world, and I just really liked that concept, so I thought it would be a good way to name all of the more glamorized portraits. And then I named all of the black and white, more stripped down portraits, just things that I felt when I met those models and how they acted in like their natural plain skin without like any makeup at all. So the first one, I named it Confidence because Marissa was very confident in her skin, and she gave off this like aura of confidence, and she made you feel confident when you were with her. So I just really wanted to emphasize like who this person was through names and through like eye contact and their portrait with in the more natural side. So I really hope you guys enjoy my series and have a great day. Bye.
Hello, my name is Cecil Reyes, and I am a just graduated fine arts major. I focus a lot on digital means and graphic design work. I'm an artist of color, and I identify as part of the LGBT community, and as such, I wanted that to be the focus of my senior sem. I frequent a lot of conventions, and as such, I was inspired to create a mock convention focused on LGBT, BIPOC, or Black, Indigenous people of color. As being part of a minority, it's hard to find a space and things that cater to people like me. And I wanted my RainbowCon project to kind of help solve that problem. In my RainbowCon project, I created all of the groups in it except for GC2B, Artawigs, and the LGBT Life Center, as those are all real groups. I created all the logos, all the images, all of the drag kings and queens, all of the entertainment and panels and comedians that are focused with LGBT by POC in mind. If you look at the logo of my RainbowCon project, you can see that I based the colors and the theme off of the 2017 version of the Pride flag, which is the Philadelphia version. In 2017, they added the black and brown stripes to specifically focus on the issues surrounding bi POC in the community and to be more inclusive of them. Thank you for listening to what I have to say about my project, and I hope you enjoy the exhibition. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Whitney Truitt, and I'm the author and illustrator of my children's book called Wisdom of Xingfu. So pretty much everyone who knows me knows that I love East Asian cultures, specifically Japanese and Chinese. I studied Japanese for 4 years during high school and started studying Mandarin for about 2 years. And while it wasn't for very long, like I immediately had this love and fascination of the culture and language itself. So when I was creating this book, I really wanted it to relate to everyone. Like I didn't want there to be like any division, which I think is one of the things that Chinese culture like really stresses is the importance of like living in unity and basically like living this very virtuous and like peaceful lifestyle. So I knew I wanted to have like these like positive affirmations that like really remind ourselves of like, how important it is for self-love and self-motivation and just having a very positive life. So what I wanted to talk about was the very first illustration I did. And it was for the fortune, your difficulties will only make you stronger. And when creating the illustrations for these fortunes, I took a lot of inspiration from old style Winnie the Pooh pictures and traditional Chinese paintings to create this very calming atmosphere by like not adding a whole bunch of detail to the background and like really utilize the negative space to add emphasis to Xingfu and the children that he interacts with. And in this illustration, he's just having a friendly little tug of war with a little boy. Yeah, they're tugging on a red string. And Yeah, so I knew I wanted this fortune to be first, to really like set the tone of the book and have something, obviously everyone can relate to. Like, we all have difficulties that we face. This year, especially, it's just one thing after the next, it seems. So, but it's really important to understand that, even though it's really difficult and you're got so many things to struggle with, that if you power through it, you'll come out even stronger, and you can take on pretty much anything after that. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy my book, Wisdom of Xingfu. And yes, thank you.
Hello, my name is Karen Whisler. My series is on the Father Heart of God. I chose this topic because I was very intrigued by the common New Testament theme in the Bible of God being a father. And I wanted to look at what that meant and what it looked like. I was curious what that looked like for God to be a father. So I had several goals for my series. One of them was for this not to be religious imagery. I didn't want this to be imagery that people have seen before, especially like seen before in church. I wanted it instead to be relatable, to be an invitation into relationship, into knowing God, rather than just knowing about Him. One of the ways I did that is by making these portraits life-size and making them more impressionistic. So I painted a lot with my feelings and used some creative color in these images. A second goal was to use local dads from the Hampton Roads areas. So all of these paintings are images of families that I personally know, and it was so much fun to incorporate them in this portrait project. The third goal of mine was just simply that each painting would specifically reference a Bible verse about how we could know God as a father. And so that was kind of a unique thing where each painting required a different bit of research. My artistic influences included old masters such as John Singer Sargent and Mary Cassatt. And then my contemporary influences included people like Christian Hook, Rebecca Hoadley, and Sibabi Bayok. I would say that my artistic process was a pretty natural outflow of my relationship with Jesus, just doing day-to-day things and knowing God through the midst of it. So oftentimes what that meant was I would be praying or reading my Bible or going to coffee with a friend or doing any normal day-to-day thing, and I would have an image pop into my head, and I would take a sketch of that immediately. And so oftentimes the sketch that I would have would immediately relate to a family. It would just so happen that it would immediately relate to a family that I knew. So I would reach out to a dad and their child and take photos of them, post similar to my sketch. And then from the photos, I would take one that I liked the best and paint from that. Sometimes two. Sometimes the images were a mashup of a couple of the photos that I liked. But I would start painting and then change even more things in the painting process. Change the colors of things, change the background, whatever I liked. And oftentimes those changes related to symbolism of what I was trying to say with the painting. So I would love to share the verses of these paintings. The first is 1 John 3:1, which says, "See what kind of love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God, and that is what we are." The second painting I completed for the series was inspired by Ephesians 5:1, which says, "Be imitators of God as dearly loved children." Next, I had Zephaniah 3:17 through 18, which says, "The Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. Another one is Matthew 10:29 through 31, which says, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside of your Father's care. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows." And then Psalm 63:7 through 8 says, "Because you are my help, I sing in the shadow of your wings. I cling to you, your right hand upholds me." Because of the personal nature of this project and the increasing fascination I have with this concept, I certainly plan on continuing this series far beyond graduation from Christopher Newport University. Future installments of the series will address topics such as adoption, comfort in the nearness of the Father, being carried through life's struggles, and finding joy and confidence in looking at the Father's face.